Hello and welcome to my channel. It's been Jelly here, and today we're doing a memorial portrait of a Springer Spaniel, and I had a couple of attempts at this, and this is the first attempt, which was the preferred view that the owner wanted. But one of the problems with memorial portraits is that the dog is sadly no longer with us, and that means that you are limited to the photographs that the owner has. And unfortunately this particular work, the photograph, the reference photograph for it, was not terribly good. Whilst it was well lit, it being outside, the detail and definition was terrible. When I blew it up, it pixelated a lot and there really was not a lot there. But I thought I'd have a go at it and see whether I could work it up, but I should have known and followed my own advice, really, in that if a reference shot isn't good enough, you just won't get enough out of it. And that was the case, because the eye, although it appears to be open in this attempt, was in fact closed in the photograph and hardly was visible at all due to the cast shadow from the ear. So there were two problem areas that I had already: the cast shadow, which was very dark, and the eye. So I tried working up the eye from pictures of other dogs off the internet that were in similar poses, but of course the subtle differences were just too great to overcome, and I just couldn't live with it. I couldn't get the sizing exactly right, and I couldn't get quite the look of it. And also, not knowing the exact colour of the eye made it really difficult to establish the character of the dog and really be happy with it. Plus the ear, which was the main feature, had a lot of what looked like damp hair, and a lot of it was just so blurred you couldn't get the definition that you'd have needed for such a large part of the picture. So I worked on it for quite a while and took it so far, but in the end I abandoned it. So here we go with the second version. Now the photograph for this one was quite dark, but essentially there was more detail in it, and it was more sculptural in terms of form and understanding of the dog's head. It wasn't a perfect view, and if I'd have been taking the photograph myself, I may have had slightly more of an angle so the nose protruded a bit more and didn't coincide with the edge of the ear so much. Things like that really help with creating the right aesthetic. However, it was okay, and I worked on it a little bit in Photoshop to bring out some of the details that were lost in the dark tones, especially around the nose and the left eye, which I'm just filling in there. Now this is Springer Spaniel, is one of the brown variety rather than the black variety, and the photograph itself was fairly dark, so that warm brown didn't come out so much. So I had to use other shots of spaniels to kind of work out the right colouring. Now the underpainting I worked on in my usual cobalt blue that I like to do when I'm working on animal portraits. It does kind of enhance the warmth of the browns once you start putting them in. So there's some quite nice fleshy pinks around the nose. There's some kind of warm browns and yellows underneath the throat area. And on top of the head you can see I'm starting to put in actual vermilions and things like that, but they really brown down on top of the blue. And I find there are many more colours in the dog's head than you would ever think. For example, on top of the white of the muzzle I'm using faint washes of turquoise, as I am under the neck there, and in the shadow on the left. And this is cobalt turquoise, and you can gradually build up these subtle blues and warms and cools which help to pull and push the form of the creature or the subject. So here I'm working on the ear a bit more and drawing into it. The ears have been trimmed in this photograph, so there wasn't as much hair getting in the way as there was on that initial attempt, and also with the angle being a bit more favourable. I can build up a sense of the shoulders of the dog, as you can see there. I've got a bit of collar coming in. The bottom part of the painting is more abstract, it's more freely painted, it's more just watercolour effects, just suggesting an impression of the dog's body in space. And actual wash in some background washes fairly soon, just to offset some of the light tones and create a bit of atmosphere around it. So I'm building up various areas and details, and you can see some of the background going in, sort of teal and cobalt blue, and those colours are used in the dog as well, so they do relate nicely. Using some Caran d'Ache pencils just to pick out one or two details and some of the whiskers and light bits of hair, not overdoing it, and then I can work on that with water just because they're water soluble, so it just helps add to the detail and create some texture across the painting surface. So not overdoing that, but just working all over and just drawing into it slightly in places where it just needs a little bit of emphasis. And here's the final painting. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, but it really helps and more people get to see it, so it's good incentive to create more videos if I've got a bigger audience. So see you on the next.